Ready down there? Okay. We're going to call to order the May 15th, 2018 RMA Board of Directors meeting. Can we call the roll, please?
Alex Bauer.
Here.
Larry Shelton.
Here.
Cheryl McElhaney. Here. Rob Brown.
Here.
Stephanie Bianchi.
Here.
Joanne Brandt. Here. Jim Crowder.
Here. Okay, we're going to have a little programming change for those who have a copy of the agenda. Item number 8 under General Manager's Report, 8A, entitled Murieta Village Access. We're going to move that item up to the top, assuming many of you are here to discuss that matter. We're going to move that right behind the presentation from Jessica Brandt, Senior Planner, Sacramento County. She's going to have the floor first. Is she here this evening? No Jessica Brandt? Going once? Okay, so we're going to pull the, as said, we're going to pull that item up. That's item 8 under General Manager Report, Murieta Village Access. And the way I think we're going to work that today is I'm going to make a comment on behalf of the association, and then we'll have the speakers from the village come up and speak. I believe we have 3 of them tonight. And then we'll open it up to any other association property owners who want to speak as well. And then we'll take it from there as a board. Sound like a plan? Okay. Okay, so we'd like to welcome all of our Rancho Murieta homeowners and our guests tonight, the Murieta Village residents. I'm sure many of you are out there. I have some remarks before we allow village residents and association residents to speak. The current and prior RMA boards have struggled for many years with the difficult issue of fees for village residents who wish to use our facilities. Murieta Village residents are neighbors, friends, and family of RMA residents. But the board has a fiduciary duty to its members and residents. How can a board allow non-members to have a better deal, in this case free access to parks, than RMA members? RMA members pay for the maintenance, operation, insurance, reserves, and security fees to CSD monthly for all lakes, parks, and amenities. So ultimately, this issue is about equity and fairness. It's about RMA members having to pay for other people's use of RMA amenities. Obviously, there is a value to access to RMA amenities for village residents. Otherwise, village residents wouldn't be here this evening. But there's also a cost for using those amenities. Additionally, there will eventually be a residential community built across Jackson Highway. Those residents might think they have access for free as well. This may seem different than the village situation, but it's serious concern for the RMA board. And as I said, it's a tough issue. I do want to provide some background to the current situation. Representatives of RMA went to the village in 2015 to speak to the entire membership. At the time, we tried to explain what issues were important for RMA and to answer any questions. Unfortunately, we were greeted with hostility, demands, and threats, and we were only hoping to find a way forward, but that didn't happen. Last week, the village sent a letter to RMA last May 10th. Village representatives inaccurately cited information sent to RMA members by RMA's legal counsel. In this letter, village representatives referenced RMA Legal Counsel's letter, September 2005, regarding the Mutual Benefit Agreement, or or MBA. This 2005 letter was sent to RMA members in an attempt to convey information regarding the MBA as it was a contentious issue in our community. What the public is not entirely privy to is the legal opinion from council concerning Murieta Village residents' access, which is dated March 2006. And I'm going to quote that in its entirety here. This is from our legal counsel. Quote, "We are not aware of the basis on which the practice was initiated of RMA permitting the village residents to use facilities at no charge. However, even assuming the village residents are entitled to use the parks, that does not lead to the conclusion that they are entitled to use parks for free, and certainly not to have their use subsidized by a private entity such as RMA. In the absence of any agreement or mandate expressly granting the village resident the right to use RMA-owned parks for free, it is reasonable for RMA to assert that free access in the past has been merely permissive, and that RMA has the right to suspend such access if a reasonable fee is not paid." In the same May 10th letter to RMA, village representatives also make an inaccurate reference to CSD's report, our Community Services District, report of July 2013. This report concerns only the community park fees that a developer is required to pay the parks fund. It does not address facility or amenity use fees, only developer fees for a community park. The statement that the village, quote, will place negligible recreational demand on a community park, end quote, was in reference to the only community parks, which is Stonehouse Park, which was originally envisioned to have a pool and cabana facilities, which the village has within the village association. So let's assume a hypothetical for a moment that we accept the premise that we're all live in one community. By this logic, the village residents should be able to use RMA amenities for a fee, as other RMA residents pay, and RMA residents should use village amenities for a fee, as village residents pay, with residents of each community paying an openly negotiated fair share fee. Village residents have never offered RMA residents any reciprocity of use with respect to village amenities. The RMA board has repeatedly met with village residents and the village board representative to no avail. The village board and residents have thus far been steadfast in their position of, quote, "We're not paying anything," end quote, and not even considering the concerns of the RMA boards, past and present, and have not offered any alternative idea to discuss. The RMA board is open to an honest and civil discussion with the hope of resolving this matter, but any discussion must include listening to RMA's concerns. If not, then the board feels like we have no other option but to go ahead with the current plan of $62 per month and deactivating village barcodes by the September date of 2018. Those conclude my remarks. This time we will accept any comments from village residents.
Yeah, I'd like to speak. And
If you could please state your name.
my name is Garland Alcorn, and I live in the village. I chose the village when I moved up here, looked north, looked to south, and I chose the village. And I'm here to speak on behalf of concerned residents of the village. A lot of times in different references, some in there like to call us a trailer park, but that's not what we are. We are not a trailer park. Murieta Village is a planned, urban, developed community, just like yours. We're all part of that, just like yours. But it's for senior citizens, 55 years of age and older, and we have our own HOA, just like you do. The most unique thing about us is that when we bought our home, we also bought the land that it sits on. That makes us homeowners, just like you. So we are living in a community, so we should be compared to being a community just like you. Now, some consider us a detriment to the community, but we are actually an asset Did you realize you have a retirement community at your front door? That doesn't happen too often. It just doesn't happen. We are your past, has been verified here by this gentleman. But as it will be explained later by a different speaker, we are here also, we are your future. I'm looking around the room tonight. It'll take another 20 or 30 years for most of you to be grow as old as I am. I'm 80 years old. But folks, you will get there. You will get there. You will grow old. And you may find yourself wanting to be near your children, but not physically able to keep up a large place. That's the reason I chose the village. Your kids sometimes need the help with the grandkids by picking them up from school, taking them home to the park or to the baseball practice, caring for them, and this is present, until mom and dad get home from work. So we're useful. Now I'm going to talk a story here at this time, and I want you to listen real close. This is happening as we speak. We pray you don't find yourselves in a situation similar to one of our neighbors that lives in the village, whose 40-ish daughter had a debilitating stroke that left her unable to care for her preteen son. This is going on now. She is a village grandma who must make several trips across the highway each day, sometimes in emergency situations, to help care for her adult child and to get the 12-year grandson to baseball practice on time. We pray that you, like our neighbor, doesn't get caught in a real long guest entry lane because you no longer have a barcode to get quickly through one of the residence gates. Folks, this is real stuff we're talking about here. This is going to be such an inconvenience, it's hard to imagine that. Now in the village, we look out for one another, as well as some folks on your side over here of the Jackson Highway. We are a caring community. We are a fun and caring community who are willing to help others, and a definite selling point for your community as you start to sell stuff. We're not a detriment. We all drink the same water. We drive the same roads. We have the same fire department. We have the same police department. We eat in the same restaurants, folks. So we are part of this community, and many of us go to church together. So are we to be looked at as something beneath you? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Mr. Alcorn, your 3 minutes have expired. Could you wrap up, please?
I'll wrap it up.
Thank you.
This whole barcode access issue was debated in 2015. We thought we'd put it to rest. Please do not drive a wedge between our communities by voting to pass this action.
Okay, thank you. We could please limit our comments to three. Is there anybody else that would like to speak from the village? You can please limit our comments to 3 minutes, please.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to let us speak.
Could you state your name, please?
My name is Tom Viner, and I'm a village resident.
Thank you.
I believe that it would be to a mutual benefit for all of us if we didn't divide our communities. It appears that the access issue has been a focus for several years now. And we feel that we haven't had ample time to come up with a solution that's equitable. Therefore, I ask the board to table this issue and give both parties an opportunity to appoint committees to sit down, negotiate a solution that's reasonable for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the village like to come to the microphone?
And my name's Wendell Baker, and I'm a village resident. All that's going on now reminds me of the Godfather movie where the man said, how did we come to this? How did we come to this? I moved up here from Southern California when the wife and I finally decided to get a permanent home. One of my coworkers suggested I take a look at Rancho Murieta. I said, where's that? He said, well, it's way out in the country. And I said, that suits me. Came out here. Okay, first thing out of the real estate people's mouth was, you play golf? I said, no, I don't play golf. Well, I like to fish and I like to go through the countryside. Photography's kind of a hobby. So they touted the access to the lakes and the backcountry and all that. Kids all grown up, so the wife and I decided to move into the village and bought our place there. We've now lived there for 31 years. Since the beginning of Rancho Murieta, the seniors in the village have always had the right to come across the street and enjoy the countryside with paying tribute to anybody. This was the way it was when the engineers union owned all this property, and it remained so when RMA took over from them. In fact, this has been the precedent for decades, folks, until you, the present Murieta board, came into power. I don't know what the problem is. You acknowledged in your letter to the village of April 23rd that very few seniors from the village come over here. In fact, CSD records show that roughly 33 villagers a day come through your gates. And most of them do that to visit their kids, their grandkids, or even to babysit the grandkids while others are at work. This was hardly a Mongol horde invasion. We're not tearing up your streets. We're not ruining your parks. We're not destroying your lakes. Okay, I gotta hurry up here. Okay, it's doubtful that any of those people coming over here for those purposes are going to pay the fees that you want. That being said, you can't possibly believe that what little money you're going to generate from these fees are going to cure whatever your financial problems are. It's not going to happen. And that makes me wonder just exactly what your real agenda is. I really wonder. This can't be the money you get from us. Myself, along with the other people in the village, ask that you reconsider your position. In fact, you might even put it to a vote of the RMA membership. See what your friends and neighbors and fellow residents think. All that being said, I'm not a lawyer. If you insist on going through this access fee, I suggest you talk to the RMA attorney, because I believe you're on very shaky legal ground. I appreciate the time to talk to you. The ball's now in your court. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any Rancho Murieta Association property owners who would like to speak to this matter?
My name is Jeffrey Gibson, and with your permission, I would like to speak.
What's your lot number?
My lot number is lot 11 in the retreats. I am no longer a member of Rancho Murieta.
I'm sorry, you live in the retreats.
The retreats, Rancho Murieta North Association.
Okay, I don't believe you're a guest here. I don't believe you have a voice.
And that's why I asked if I could speak. If you don't want me to speak, I go back and sit down. But I do pay my $139 every month to RMA.
Okay, well, go ahead. You're up there, go ahead.
You used equity in your opening speech there, and I think that that's one of the things we should be really looking at is equitable treatment of people. We have a number of associations here now. Some pay money to use the facilities, some don't pay money to use the facilities. People get different levels of service in the associations. So that in my association, the one that governs me, I basically get nothing from RMA except for the use of the parks and the open space and that sort of stuff. And so I looked at the letter and the analysis that you had your people do on what the villages should be paying. And I don't disagree with that logic. But then it makes me wonder, how come I'm paying $139? Because you don't pay the electricity on my streetlight. You don't pay the insurance on my property. You don't fix my road. And yet you still have us pay the full amount. And so what I'm recommending, suggesting, is that you expand this endeavor that you're involved in right now and really look at how all of the different associations interact with each other and what is an equitable fee for people to be paying, because this is just going to get worse. There's a map back here and it shows all of the potential areas where new associations can come through. And you can be pretty certain that when a new developer comes in and buys a piece of property, that they're not going to join Rancho Murieta because they're not going to want the board to have that much control over their development. And it's just, this is one of those things that is just going to get worse and worse and worse and more contentious over time. And maybe you can stop it and fix it in 2018. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Judy Bernal, and I live in lot 72 in the townhomes here in Rancho Murieta. I've been a long-term resident. I've lived in the north in phase 3 in 1987. I moved away, came back, and I've lived on the south, seen the expansion there, and I now live in the townhomes on the lake. I also am a loan officer in the financial world, and I do sell this community, and I do work on the finances of the people that do come to live here. On a good note, I sell this community very proudly because of the different and alternative lifestyles that it does offer. And when I say lifestyles, I'd like to agree with the one gentleman that it coincides with the stages in your life. I'm going to speak quickly. So financially, when I work with these people, it is an asset and a blessing that we have this wonderful lifestyle here, and we work very tightly on those budgets. So my one point to that is, to me, it's almost like false advertising to the client and also to the banks when we say this is how much it costs, and now we're adding a cost on that. So I would like that to be reviewed. The second thing is, I do have a personal affinity and love for the village. I was able to take care, my mother was able to have independent living, and I was able to access her in less than 5 minutes, with or without the light, that I could get to her. And again, had I lived any place else, I would not have been able to do that. I do request that this issue, if it does continue, is to let it go to a vote of the RMA members, because I'm embarrassed to my friends and other neighbors, like we had this plan against you. They should not be considered second-class citizens. I agree with Jeffrey in the sense that with the other associations that are coming on, we should have some plan so we address it proactively. I think it is not a problem with the new development because it would be upfront. I think to come after all this time and put a fee on to these people, which we could discuss what are the amenities. It costs to go see your grandchildren. And I would like to say on these people, Where is the joy? I mean, it is joyful to have the rich community that we have. Also in my sales, you know, everybody has data. Well, guess what the latest data is when they talk about how and where to buy a home? One of the top commodities right now is becoming community. It is not a two-story, it's not a one-story, it is community. And we have that here. It is most important.
If you can wrap up,
I
your
have to
time has
wrap up.
expired.
I thank you for the service of the people in the village as veterans, as people of the greatest generation. I'm proud that you are there. I hope that we can come to an amiable position and keep the joy and love, and which is our wealth here in Rancho Murieta. Thank you.
Would anyone else from Rancho Murieta come on up?
Hello, Tim Mabey, lot number 186. For the folks in the village, I was that bad person 3 years ago that made these folks. The thought process, no, I am, believe me, you said those things. The prior board, this board actually is doing the correct thing. I get it's emotional. I'm a non-emotional person. Please ask my wife. Point being, I explained to you then, and I'm no longer a board member, I'm just a resident, that the available capacity, everything everybody's talked about is this great community, the amenities, that's cost something. That's cost all of us as residents. You've benefited from it. The second speaker, whoever that gentleman was, I think if I could give any advice to the current board, and that would be, do not set a committee up. Ask your board president to meet with this board president and staff. We've tried it 3 or 4 times before. Understand that this just isn't something that's going to go away. Whoever the speaker was that said we thought we put it to rest, you might have in your minds, it wasn't in the association. We reached out a couple more times and we had no success. I would only say if you're earnest in your negotiation, then request it and see where it's at. One of the speakers spoke about the multiple associations. The MBA addressed it is not going to get worse. It is set in stone. The price will vary accordingly. But otherwise, the MBA addresses all those types of things. For those of us that say we are one community, in several instances we are, in multiple instances we're not. Best example is Gold River. Everyone thinks that's one association. It's not. There's probably 25 associations within Gold River. So it's not uncommon. The difference here is the access has some value for everybody. What that value is, I can't tell you. I failed as a board member because we couldn't get the negotiations going on your side. So I understand that. Please understand that it is not about the greatest generation, second-class citizens, we think less of them. Sir, you can shake your head. No, I'm telling you, as a former board member, that was not my personal and or professional point. Where I'm coming from is when I was on the board, I have a fiduciary responsibility, and the costs do rise, and we have a lot of amenities, and it's worth something. That's all I can tell you. We just haven't been able to sit down in earnest negotiations say what it's worth or what the trading factor is. So unless you have any questions of me, I do appreciate what the board's doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Okay.
Can I say something real quick in answer to it?
I don't believe you have a voice in this body right now. He has the floor. Thank you.
John Merchant, 723. I just have a question, and it concerns the villas. Do they have barcodes? Do the people that live in the villas have a barcode?
No, they do not.
Would it be safe to assume that any action that we took here with the village over there would be simultaneous with the villa? Because I think you have the same situation, the only difference being that they're already inside the gate.
John, thanks for your comment. It is completely different. It's governed by two different sets of rules. And we're really kind of going to focus on the village this evening. And if you'd like for us to revisit the villa's situation with you at a later time, we'll be happy to.
Well, no, I just think it's fair for me to ask the question.
Well, yeah,
because
and
I'm
I'm
asking
asking you, it is different. It is two different.
No, and when you say different set of rules, I'm not sure that's a different set of documents.
Well, okay.
I was the president, like Alex. I was the one that was thrown out of the villas when we tried to implement rules with the villas 25 years ago. And I was the second one they threw out. He went with me. So I was just curious that anything you would enact, I would hope would be fair and equitable with the villas, the only difference being that one is inside the gate and the other isn't. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other Rancho Murieta property owners who would like to speak on this matter? See one more.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Spurlock, Lot 52. And Timmy, I am an emotional person. You can just ask my husband. I love Tim, so I could tease him. But anyway, I am an emotional person, and this is really hurtful to me. My mother lived in the village, my sister lives in the village. When my mom moved here, she didn't say, "Can I come over here?" You all invited her. And to me, that was a contract. You said, go over to the south gate, fill out your forms, I'll put the sticker on for you, don't worry about it, just come on over. So to me, that is a contract, that is a promise. So now you're saying, we're taking back our promise, we're taking back our contract, because I don't think anyone really believes the because is, that's not a word, because there's not enough people that come over here. I want to know, is there anyone here from the north that uses the bookmobile? Okay, you're using that road over there. You know, I hope they don't get upset. Is there anyone here that goes to visit your parents in the village? Takes care of anyone in the village? I know several people that do, that cross into the village every single day. They may walk their dogs over there, they may take care of their parents over there. They're using the village. They're using their walkways, they're using their roads. If they go over at night, they're using their lights, their electricity. So I'm not really sure where this equitable part is coming in. I don't believe it. I know you may be worried about new people, you know, building and they'll need their stickers. No, they don't. That's a new building. That's a new area. This is something we've had for 40 years, 35, 40 years. You are breaking a contract with people who have emotions like myself, who went and fought in wars for you, gave you your freedom. They didn't think about it. They weren't unemotional. They went when they were called. Those people should be honored over there. Their widows should be honored. I'm embarrassed. Like she said, I'm embarrassed, my neighbors, to say that we're doing this to the people in the village. The seniors who are, I know you keep looking at the clock, hoping it's gonna run out. They're on low incomes. They can't afford this. So I'm just saying, please don't do it. For once, use a little emotion and have a heart.
Okay, are there any other comments from Rancho Murieta property owners? Okay, seeing none, we'll throw it up to the board, folks.
Question. You've given unlimited access to Rancho Murieta owners, but not to village owners. Could others speak, please?
No, I'm sorry, you're a guest here and we...
I'm sorry, I'm not Those were our lakes, those were our trails.
You're not going to be able to speak on this matter. You have your 3 speakers. Thank you for your insight today.
This is why you had so much trouble negotiating with us. You think you have all the rights and we have very limited. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Board, what would you like to say?
It seemed to me like that there was a common thread of the people that talked. And one of the things that I'd like to make sure that you understand is that if you have relatives in Rancho Murieta, you have as much rights as anyone else who has relatives outside the gates. You're gonna have visitor rights. You can come through the gates anytime you want to on a visitor pass. And all you have to do is have your relative certify you on a list, and it makes it real easy to get through the gates. I do. I have relatives outside of the gates, and they are on a list, and they just give their name and drive right through, and they're given a pass. So we're not limiting your ability to communicate with friends and family on the other side of the gate from you. And I think that seemed to be a common thread among the people who talk. And I do think that you need to recognize your ability to do that. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Well, one of the gentlemen, I think it was the second person, asked to have some dialogue and some meeting time on this.
We can't hear you.
Is this on? Can you hear me now? I'm gonna put it closer. Okay. One of the gentlemen said that he asked for some dialogue or a meeting, some kind of a meeting or whatever that would be a chance to discuss this further. And the president has also said, a suggestion was made that the 2 presidents perhaps would get together or whatever. I mean, I think that we might be open to, some kind of a discussion on that if you are so inclined. But I think the board needs to consider that. Is there some feeling that you would have a representative group that would meet with someone from Rancho Murieta Association?
Recognize that we have asked for that in the past and not got any consolation except that the subject is non-negotiable. I was part of one of the negotiations we tried to have with you recently, and it was that no, it's our rights are our rights, and this is not negotiable.
We don't know who you talked to.
Well, we talked to your management people.
We were totally unaware of that.
I'm sorry. That's really not our responsibility to not go on door to door and talk to you.
You're not willing to meet with another group besides whoever the board is, or after we get to them and talk to them? Are you willing to meet with them?
Are there representatives from your board here today?
No.
No.
That's good.
But they did say yesterday that they do support us trying to work this out.
Any further discussion?
I'm very curious about that. Why would they not be here?
No, we can't answer that.
Obviously, they've seen your letters, they've seen your concern.
We're very amazed at it, so.
Mr. Brown?
So, based on everything that I've read, and I think everybody that came has some merit to what they're saying. We've come now around to the second speaker, Tom, has been the first time that this board has heard anything that they were willing or wanted to table it so that we could get together. What I'm staring at right now, what came to me in my board packet, was a response from the villas in a petition.
No, from the villages.
From the villages, I mean, excuse me. From the villages with 24 sheets of signatures, 173 signatures. Basically, the response is derogatory to our board. It's insulting, it's accusatory, and it's filled with threats. We're sorry you folks can't manage your money. We're going to protest with several hundred senior citizens, and we're going to hire a lawyer. That to me doesn't sound like anybody's willing to come to the table or negotiate at all, which that's all we've been trying to do. We've come to the village on several occasions trying to hammer this out, and it hasn't happened. I am ready to make a motion and depending on what the board does, I'd like to make a motion that we move this forward. If at some time in the not so distant future, a representative from your association would like to come and open negotiations with this, then we can reconsider. But I'm prepared to make a motion.
Well, we can entertain your motion.
Okay, I move that we adopt the $62.40 per month member amenity use payable annually. This fee will be effective September 1st, 2018 for Murieta Village residents wishing to use RMA amenities. For those who do not wish to pay the fee, all active barcodes for Murieta Village residents will be turned off on September 1st.
Is there a second? Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I would like to have some more discussion, if that's okay.
You can have more discussion.
There's a lady in the second row that had her hand up that wanted to speak, and I wondered if you could address that question.
Would you like her to address the board?
Yes.
Okay.
You can come to
No, we're talking about
Who are we talking about?
this lady right here. Which one back there? I didn't see her.
My name is Linda Chrysler. I have lived in Rancho Murieta for 32 years. In the north,
Closer to the mic.
in the north, in the south, and now in Murieta Village. What's happening here is something that we didn't know about. We didn't know about it. Your negotiations have been with our board. Apparently have indicated that they, for whatever reason, it didn't come to us. A lot of this is news to us. I don't speak well in front of a group. I'm sorry, I have no notes. But in part of one of our speakers' speech was eliminated by Mr. Bauer's opening remarks. All we can do is say there are those of us that would really appreciate being able to work to find something that would be equitable to us. Most of us are on fixed incomes, and you guys are going to get there someday too, just like we did. No matter how much you save, it's going to be fixed, and it's never going to be enough. Input into the amount, if that's what it comes to, we prefer not to pay anything, since that's what we have been paying all along, is nothing. We need to talk. And most of our residents have not heard anything about this. We haven't heard from you specifically, and we'd just like you to reconsider or give us the opportunity to meet with members of the board or have you meet with our group or committee. It's the right thing to do. By the way, one more thing before I sit down. I noticed that in the comparison in Mr. Borster's letter, that the one item that was a complete equal was the parks and maintenance at $17 and some odd cents. We don't use the parks as much as you do. Why should we pay 100%? Thank you for your time.
In answer to that last comment, a lot of our people inside the gate don't use the parks either, but they still have to pay the full amount. So it's not like all of us are picking on you at all. And the issue about whether we've communicated with you or not, we had a representative actually go to you in 2015, and you were physically violent to him. And that wasn't appropriate. Well, I'm sorry, you like, not physically, I'm sorry, I should not use that language, but you did not respect him being there trying to negotiate with you at all and refused to negotiate. So there is history here.
I recall that it was verbal, but
yeah,
it was a surprise to us at that time too.
Okay.
So,
Thank
and
you.
both sides.
Can I say something
The-
regarding Mr. Shelton's comment, sir?
Larry, do you want to field that?
Sure.
I'll just have my phone.
I think.
Oh, what is it?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Now, Mr. Shelton, you said we were violent or nasty to him?
Well, I said physical, and then I corrected it.
It seems to me that back in 2015, when you folks came over, you had your minds absolutely set about this fee thing. It seems to me that now your minds are set. It doesn't matter, there's no negotiation, no anything. When you were over there in 2015, do you remember one of your people at the parting shot? We're all ready to leave. He stood up at the mic, threw his chest out, his face got beet red and his neck red, and said, "People, that's the way it's gonna be. Get used to it." Just like that. What a jerk.
So how did you
And
treat
you
him
say,
before that?
we're not gonna negotiate with you?
How was he treated before that moment?
Pardon?
How was he treated before that moment?
That's the first time he said anything. Where'd he go?
Okay, thank you.
I got it.
The,
Gentleman back there did most of the speaking. A gentleman.
All right,
Every
that's
respect.
good. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Director Bianchi, would you like to say something?
Yes, I just want to clarify on my behalf and the constituents that I represent. This topic to me by no means is intended to mean any disrespect to anybody here in this room, anybody who's come before me, any war veterans. That's not what any of this is about to me. I have multiple people in my family in the military who I have the utmost respect. So that's not what this is about. In my mind, this is looking out for the best interest of the association and the financial responsibility as a director to the association. It's not about disrespecting my elders. It's not about disrespecting war veterans. None of that needs to come into play. And personally, as an association member, I take offense to that because that is not who I am. And that's not who I represent. So I would appreciate that those comments get left to the side and everybody comes to the table. If there are going to be further meetings and discussions, that it's purely about what we're looking at moving forward. And just like in any community, any business, unfortunately, times march on and things move forward. And yes, we have to respect where we came from and where we've been, but we also have to look at where we're going in the future.
I do want to remind the board that we have a motion and a second before us. Is there any further discussion?
Judy would like to talk again.
Does it concern the motion that's on the floor?
Yes, it does. It actually is just a question, a further question. How did this become a problem with all of the issues that are at hand? And how do you monitor, why is it a problem? How is it a problem? How do you monetize looking at the lake? And wouldn't more development be the solution there if you need the money? But I don't want to go there now. If it's what is the problem? If it's the money and you're giving them the option and nobody signs up, then you don't have the money. So
Okay,
what else?
we got your question. Gotcha.
Clarity on what is the problem.
Okay, thank you. Anyone want to answer that?
It's not the money. Okay.
Yes, that's what my comment was going to be. You can fantasize all you want about it being the money, but it really isn't. It's about equity. It's about equity for the citizens we have within the gates.
Well, why don't you let the...
I'm sorry, we can't turn this into an informal discussion here. I think we've spent the time that we need on this. There's a motion on the floor and...
The motion to continue it, sir, is the motion to continue the conversation properly.
I believe, well, we'll have Mr. Brown clarify. Can you clarify your motion for us?
I have made a motion to move forward with the 6240 per month. However, if your board reaches out to our board prior to the effective date, and we come to a solution, then possibly before it goes into effect, and we have negotiated a different agreement.
What kind of solution you looking
Well,
for?
that would be between your association and ours.
So if I understand this correctly, Mr. Brown, you have a motion here to make this, the fee effective on that date. But between now and that date, if we find a different resolution, then that would supersede what we have. Is that what you're saying? We can supersede what you have in your motion.
That is what I'm saying. That is correct.
Okay. Is that motion clear to everyone? Do we need to refine that motion to reflect that, or do we feel like that is understood, or how do you feel about that? Is that you guys are clear that this motion that's been seconded is to implement the fee effective whatever the date was, September 1st, and that gives us between now and September 1st to address it in any way we can address it. That would then supersede, bring it back to the board, right, to supersede what the motion is. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Is that what the motion is saying? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
We want to make sure that the motion is reflecting that, if that's what we want.
Yes, I believe you are stating it correctly.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I see no further discussion, so we're going to put this to a vote. All in favor of Mr. Brown's motion of implementing the fee of 62, was it 62 even?
6240.
6240, effective September 1st, and then in between allowing for talks to take place that could supersede that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion passes 7-0. Okay, so we're going to move on to the public comment section of the meeting. Public comments. The public shall have the opportunity to directly address the board on any items of interest. Public comments on items not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of the board are welcome, subject to reasonable time limitations for each speaker. If you wish to address the board at this time, please state your name and lot number and reserve your comments to no more than 3 minutes so that others may be allowed to speak. No action will be taken. Each item of business will be introduced by the president. Public comment for that item will be opened. The public will have the opportunity to speak on that item. Public comment for that item will then be closed, and no additional public comment will be allowed. At that time, the board will discuss the item and then take action. Is there anybody who wants to speak?
I would very much like to ask you something. 2 things. I'd like to make a request. That when we come together.
I'm sorry?
We've
When we
moved on.
come together.
Can you state your name and your lot number, please?
Diane Weber, and I'm in lot 209.
I'm sorry, what lot?
209. When you come together with the village, if you would please let them know exactly what equity is defined as. Leave the money out of it. Talk about what the equity is, and that will help the negotiations. Just an FYI. The other is, you guys have the water supply on this side of the gate. And my question is, what's the future of that? Your kids get to pee in it. And I'd like to know what plans you have for our common water supply, seeing how we have no voice in anything that goes on over here anymore.
I'm sorry, you have no voice in this?
That's what you're saying.
Are you a resident?
I'm a resident.
Then you have a voice.
But over there, I don't.
Oh, are you a village resident?
Once you move outside the gate, you have no more.
I'm sorry, could you clarify, are you a resident of Rancho Murieta or a resident of the
At the
village?
moment, I'm in the village.
Okay, I'm sorry, we can't take your comment.
Again, I made the point. You guys have the water.
Seeing no further comments,
Come in.
consent calendar.
Item number 5, consent calendar items are considered routine and will be approved by one motion. There will be no discussion of the items unless a director requests a specific item to be removed.
I would like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of the consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Item 6, the minutes from April 17th. Minutes from April 17th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from April 17th.
We have a motion and a second over here with Jim. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes from April 17th, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. The president's report. That would be me. All right. We haven't had a president's meeting now for a couple of months, so I'm hoping we can do that. Greg, let's make sure we meet with those other presidents next month. In executive session, we discussed the contracts, which will come out to open session here in shortly, and then we discussed some personnel, and we just is that me? Okay. Okay. I didn't know if that was in my head or if that was something else. Okay. Yeah, so we discussed personnel matter, and we talked about we approved a payment, and we discussed contracts. Did I leave something out? Legal issue, legal invoice. Mentioned that. Okay, I think I got it. Leave something out, Greg? Okay. Awesome. So we're going to throw it over to the general manager for his report.
On your restroom that's been ordered, Rod, are you going to be able to put any facilities in place before that gets here, or are you going to have to wait till that's physically here to start putting sidewalks and ramps in?
No, they've given us what our thresholds are as far as heights for our ramp, so we anticipate we'll have a concrete ramp and walkway to that ramp in place for delivery.
So basically, it's just a matter of plugging it in and turning it on. Good, good. And then my other question, and Rod, you might answer this also, the outsource for tree trimming, it says in progress. Is that the outsource is in progress or the tree trimming is in progress?
Tree trimming is in progress.
Okay.
We've accomplished about half of what we set out to do.
Okay, thank you.
And as a follow-up, how do we identify or do we outsource, let them identify what needs to be trimmed?
We identify, and then meeting with their arborists, we take a look at the severity of that pruning job. But in the past, we've done most of those things in-house, but we need to be a little more aggressive on tree pruning this year, so the board put some more money away so that we can get a little more aggressive on the pruning. But it's kind of a combination of both. But we basically take the problem areas that we have with clearance.
Okay. Any further questions?
Yeah, the other comment that I wanted to make was I wanted to compliment Greg on the restroom that's going in at Lake Clementia. He was able to reduce RMA's fiscal responsibility by $11,500 by getting donations from ETC and Kiwanis, and then convincing the manufacturer to reduce the cost. So that was a significant savings.
And real quick, sorry. Do want to thank you, Greg, for updating us on these goals. We're going to have to get this going for next year again, and it's just good to see us working on finishing up on these. Okay, so we need a motion on that.
Make a motion to approve the Delta Bluegrass contract for $69,133 spotting and Stonehouse Field.
Thank you. Is there a second? All right, we got a second on that. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of this contract, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0.
Bus stops within Rancho Murieta Association. We've been talking about this for several months now. On April 25th, we had a public council meeting for residents who have concerns to come and speak and give us a presentation on what we plan on relocating those bus stops. The recommended slides are as follows. On the south, we're talking about getting rid of the stop that's at the end of area south.
Can I just make a comment? Thank you for following through with this. I appreciate. I think that it's going to address the safety as well as commuting in and out of the gates. One thing that I would like to see the board address, and it may need to be addressed in the future, is the lighting, although I do see that there is a street light on the south. I'm not quite sure that that's adequate, especially in winter months when it's really dark, as well as some sort of coverage for when it's rainy. So maybe in the future we could consider future donations or funds putting towards, I don't know. I know it's difficult for lighting in that area for shelter.
For lighting, I did go out to the new sites at 9:30 p.m. and it's more than adequate lighting at that time. So I know at, say, at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning, you've got a little bit of sunrise. It's much lighter at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Doesn't have any kind of, but it doesn't have any kind of shelter now for inclement weather?
No, hardly ever stops to.
Yeah, I didn't think they did.
I mean, if you guys want to address that at the goal setting workshop, we want to try to find some bus stops and turn where you want to put them. Definitely something to put on the agenda.
We need action on this, right? Okay.
That goes on our goals.
I'm just trying to see the other side of that. If we never had them, doesn't mean we shouldn't have them. But if we have something like that, is it going to become a catch-all for graffiti and
then
problems?
maintenance too, yes.
I mean, you could have one for park restrooms, and there was one at Murieta South that's shared by the transit bus as well as the school kids. But those are the only two that actually have bus stops. Now, the location we're looking at on Silver Drive, we own the sidewalk, past the sidewalk is country club property, so I don't think you would, you'd have to get their permission to put any type of structure on their property.
Yeah.
So, I guess there's potential on the number two, the bingo for some type of cover, and it might be kind of tricky to do one on Lockwood where the way it's sited.
I do have one question for you, Rick. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I read somewhere where one of the stops where we do have coverage, I think it costs somewhere around $20,000 to put it in place. Was that, am I a little high, a little low?
Yeah, I mean, the first one that we have, that's correct, and the second one we built for about half.
So that means the first one was outsourced then?
No, we bought a pre-manufactured construction.
Okay, have we had any issues with it in regards to vandalism?
We haven't had any graffiti issues. The only issue we had was when first installed, we had a lightweight plastic type tile that was put on the roof at the gazebo or the bus shelter at Stone or Riverview Park, and a lot of those were broken off. So we've since replaced that with stainless steel metal, and haven't had any problems.
My only other question, I'll gladly go out and take a look. Has anyone seen how many kids actually use that shelter in the inclement weather?
They're used every day. I would say I haven't on the count, but yeah, they're used.
I will say there's not one here at the current north entrance, and when I leave in the mornings and it's raining, there's multiple kids sitting out there in the rain when their parents drop them off early in the morning. Just anecdotally.
Yeah, or they're sitting in mom or dad's car.
And the only thing about putting the shelters up, we want to put it in some place that's going to be someplace where the stop isn't going to move in the future. So that's also something to look at, because if you do move the stop, then your shelters, because we're moving the stops now, right?
Pending this vote.
So something to take.
When we had Freeman and his superior out, didn't he say it was like about 15 years, give or take, that the last time stop's been adjusted?
Yeah, I think it was, I think he said in the mid-90s when they were having the budget issues that they consolidated a lot of stops to try to keep them up here as part of the development to cut that on the transit time.
Okay, so you're looking at almost 20 years since anything's been addressed on this.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'm sorry, did we even have a motion on the, do we have a motion or not?
We need a motion.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to move, to recommend the Elk Grove School District that the bus stops at the entrance of Marietta South be relocated to Colbert Drive and the 12th Fairway, and move the bus stop at Rancho Murieta North entrance to be relocated to the Second Domingo and Murieta Parkway, with the second stop being added at Second Lago, approximately 650 feet off of Murieta Parkway.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you for that detailed motion and the second. And any further discussion? Okay, so all in favor of moving the bus stops, say aye.
Aye.
All right, anyone opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay. Okay, and are you looking, just to clarify, are you looking for a motion then from us that, or we can just discuss, because,
Or just agreement?
okay, okay.
Okay,
good enough.
I actually have a
Real quick,
question.
real quick. First of all, I want to thank the staff for taking the initiative and posting events that are not RMA events. I really do appreciate that, but I did ask to have this brought to the full board, so we're all on the same page, and we agree that we want to do it or we don't. So, but I do want to thank staff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want a clarification about what we are talking about. That's the event calendar that's on the banner across the top of the home page. Is that correct? Okay. Yeah. I think it's very useful. I think it's extremely useful to have as much on there as we can get, but I can see where it can get too crowded if you start putting too much on there. And there may at some time be some criteria level that you need to achieve to actually make the calendar.
I actually think the things that you have used as examples here are good examples. And I personally think the more we can put on the calendar with at least it's readable, we should put it on there because, it's just, everybody is struggling not only to keep their own calendar straight, but organizations are struggling to get their activities advertised because we don't have a lot of sources of advertising in this community. So I think if RMA can add to that with the calendar, that, this may, most of the events that go on at the community wants to go to, I'm all for us putting it on there.
I think I'll speak on Jim's behalf. Just kidding. Just kidding. I know I had discussions with Jim about this, so I'll speak briefly about that. It's great. Boy Scouts is great. Tai Chi is great. What if we have some more, what can I say, a little more colorful groups maybe that are meeting? Do we put those on there? Maybe ones that are more divisive?
Could they be nonprofit groups then?
Okay.
We don't want to do political groups. We don't want to do, profit-making issues.
It sort of ties in with,
strictly community benefit type programs.
and that's where I was almost tied into what Rob's like doing right now with the governing dots on having some type of social media guideline for the calendar also, just so we don't have someone take advantage of a good community.
So I'm not going to be able to see what kind of food trucks are up at the Stonehouse Park on Sunday.
We have a banner for that, don't we?
I'm
Any further discussion?
I think it would be helpful for the community to be able to have a resource to utilize as a reference tool to what events are going on in the community at any given time, to be able to quickly access it.
So as long as they're nonprofit, is that?
I think
is
there's
that
some
correct?
way we can stipulate it to the association and association-sponsored event.
Just because they haven't filed their paperwork for nonprofit, but they clearly are a nonprofit, something like that. But let's say that somebody has a book club going, and they
Okay.
go, oh, I'd like to have more people attend our book club. Would you put it on the RMA calendar? I don't think that's appropriate. That's a private.
How many book clubs do we have? Don't we have like
Oh,
3 or 4?
bunches of them,
Yeah.
Sure, but, I'm just saying that's where we would draw the line. I think it's more that these are actually done by organizations in our community that are for the total community, that kind of thing.
Okay, so we would put Solos events on there.
No, I don't necessarily think Solos would want to do that. Solos is, depends on what kind of activity they'd be having.
Okay.
Yeah, they might be having something that's open for their whole community, but they also might be just having a membership type.
So what would be open to the community, we could put on the website. What might be a private event for Solos would not go on the website.
I don't know, what's everybody else think?
I don't know, I'm just-
Yeah, I think that's great.
Solos isn't a nonprofit though.
It isn't a nonprofit.
Are you making money off that?
No, I think it's a community-wide event, that's different. Yeah, that would be.
So is that the guideline we want, is community-wide? So if a congressman comes in and does an event, that's community-wide, that can go on our, or not a candidate for Congress.
Well, who would be sponsoring them? I mean, is he gonna come to the RMA building and speak and all the community can come? I mean, somebody like that would always have a sponsor.
I had a realtor not far from where I live sponsor a candidate not too long ago at her house.
But was everybody invited, or was it it was probably a fee event, I would imagine.
I'm sure it was a fee, but I saw it was an open invitation.
I mean, I think that's a little bit different than advertising Brews and Blues, or possibly even Larry's, concerts and ETC events and the Boy Scout meetings and.
We could say not.
I think it's more.
I'm fine with that.
It's more like a calendar so that you can see what's going on inside the community.
I would prefer it to be non-political.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
I would. Those people should pay for their advertising.
Rob, you satisfied with that?
I'm satisfied.
Does that give you enough direction? Oh, you weren't listening?
I do have one question, is how is RMA gonna get the information? Is it gonna be the responsibility of the organizations to give it, and I think that's really clear, or key,
And who's going to be responsible?
They know if they wanna be on the calendar.
Community, and if it's on RMA in the gates, correct?
And non-political.
Oh, yeah, definitely within the gates.
Okay.
And
Is that good?
who on your staff is going to receive all this?
I don't forget, I kind of did this, we've all kind of done some of it, so.
Very diplomatic.
I have a whole list of things for next month, Greg.
Actually, the guy I've been doing it's not a weed eater, so.
Okay, thank you for everyone's feedback. I think you have a couple more items there, General Manager?
The discontinuance of animal control services, us on the board of staff find out by CZ Security. Discontinue animal control services, offer RMA assistance in communicating the service. Attached is the response from CZ Security, clarifying why they were discontinuing the services. And I thought it was a very nice, long letter.
Yep.
I guess, if you have any questions, you give
Rob, I know this was your item last month.
So, absolutely. Great letter. It gave a lot of information to myself of questions that I had, so it answered a lot of those questions. And it does sound very, very daunting, completely understandable why CSD moved the way they did. My concern going forward is how do we find a solution? Because it's still an issue. And if this is no longer a viable solution, then what is it? I think it might be worth maybe sitting down or having a representative talk with county animal control, because if we are within their jurisdiction and it's their responsibility to service us, then they need to understand the need that we have out here. And with our geographical location, with the residents, that kind of stuff, so that could be one step that we take. Another one that I've been just kind of thinking of is that, and I've already seen some sort of sparks of it, but maybe organizing some sort of volunteer organization that is willing to either house stray dogs that they find, or if that's not an option, possibly utilizing, maybe putting a kennel at one of the dog parks where if somebody finds a stray dog, the dog can be put in a kennel at the dog park, and either through an app or online communication, an alert goes out that, hey, there's this dog that was found loose on this street, and then people would get that alert, most people in the community know, oh, that's so-and-so's dog, or that's my dog, or if it has tags on it, something like that. Also, I know there's people out here that are willing to deal with snakes and things like that. If there was names and phone numbers of people that were willing to assist people that had a fear of snakes or weren't able to deal with it, that they could put out a request and maybe a social something where as a community, if we're kind of on our own out here, then maybe as a community we could devise some sort of group that is willing to take over this responsibility. And that way that group is not, if it's just volunteers, then we're not regulated by all these regulations. And so those are just some thoughts that I had. Obviously this doesn't sound like it's going forward through CSD. That doesn't sound like that it's a way forward. So I just think that we need to find some sort of solution.
I think your idea of putting more pressure on animal control, the county official people that take care of the whole county, I think that's very critical, because we're paying the same taxes to them that everyone else in the county is, and we should get a representative service, and they should recognize our needs out here. I think that's an important issue, and I do caution us in allowing, or not allowing, but in encouraging people to volunteer to do something, especially with dangerous animals like or snakes. I think that's doing nothing but, again, taking the responsibility away from animal control, and they need to accept their responsibility there. I think it's endangering the population to some extent.
Correct, but the reality is, if you come home and there's a rattlesnake curled up on your front porch, are you going to sit somewhere for 2 hours for a response time from the county? Or if there's somebody that you can call that is experiencing having snakes, or has the ability to either come and either kill the snake or do whatever to come and help their neighbor out. It doesn't have to be an RMA thing. It can be just the responsibility of volunteers that are willing to come help the neighbor out when they have a problem with an animal. Of course, I'm not going to be one volunteering to go help kill that snake. I'll tell you that right now. Now, I'm very comfortable with dogs. I've caught many stray dogs. I've caught aggressive dogs. I'd be willing to do something like that. But I think, and I think there's many people in the community, whether we're talking dogs and snakes, there could be other issues too that people in the community are willing to go help their neighbor out in a timely fashion when.
Well, deer, we've got deer.
When the county, exactly, something that people are willing to come help out with, where they can get a response from a neighbor within a few minutes, whereas you call animal control and it could be a long time. And that's just a reality. Yes, we can talk to them, but aside from them stationing an animal control officer out here on a full-time basis, that's not.
No, I understand that reality.
What are we supposed to do if a deer gets hit by a car in our community, or we see, a deer has got a broken leg and they're, down in the grass back in the back country? I don't know what we're supposed to do.
Animal control? Yeah, it's animal control now.
You still call them to come out to get the deer?
Yep.
Okay, I think that's just an update. You don't need anything from us. I don't think they're listening.
Fernando said in the month of May, they're going to schedule time to take speed shots to see how fast the public is traveling on Highway 16. The shots will be taken between Kiefer Boulevard and Murieta South. And then as Greg said, because I passed the email on to him, it was every 7 to 10 years, Caltrans is required to review a speed zone referred to as an engineering and traffic study and reauthorize the limit. In the event of some type of major change to geometry in the area prior to an E&TS expiring, Caltrans will perform a new study after the public has had a chance to acclimate to the modifications. This is often between 6 months to a year. The study is led by Caltrans. The CBC is very clear that there is no option to delegate this role to another agency. So that's an official response from the person who's having to deal with it, and as he's mentioned to me, he's gotten input from his superiors who've gotten it from congressmen. We've rattled some cages. That's a nice way to put it.
Is that why you're in a brace right now?
That is right.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. We're moving on to item 9, folks. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee did not meet this past.
Okay.
We did meet in June, but we did not meet in May.
Very well then. Architectural Review Committee.
You know what? Just because you didn't meet, we met twice.
Much better committee for you.
Well, Mark likes to keep these things moving along so they don't back up on us with just monthly meetings, which is good. So we met on April 19th and we approved a driveway variance that you can read about, and we also have a common area lease agreement that I would like you to have vote approval on, and that's on lot 1592 at 6325 Shazander. Did I pronounce that right, Mark?
Kazador.
Ah. There's no H in there, is there? I'm sorry. So I would like to make a motion to approve that common area lease. Mark, would you like to comment on that?
I think the information was presented in the actual recommendation and place, so it's pretty clear. The resident has decided to start work order, so everything is fine.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll, was that a motion or?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so there's a motion and I'm looking for a second.
I'll second it.
And we have a second. And any further discussion on this matter? Seeing none, all in favor of common area lease lot 1592, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
We also met on May 3rd, and we had several, if I can find it. I guess I can't find it real quick. We had was it with three? Do we have three, Mark? Yes. Three driveway variance parking requests, and you can see the results of those. They were, I'm sorry?
It's right behind your arrows.
Oh, there it is. And we basically denied one and approved the other two. No, I'm sorry, we denied two and approved one, and then we had another roof re-roofing approval that we agreed on at 14704 Kale. And Mark, do you have any comments on any of that?
Yeah, that was a house remodel and addition, and then in addition to that, was a re-roof and exterior colors. So there's a lot going on in that remodel.
Yeah.
And addition.
And so that is the end of my ARC report.
Thank you very much. Communications Committee, Joanne.
Communications Committee did not meet this month. And the only thing I think I have to report is the work on Portal Drive is started. Is there anything you want to add, Rob, on that?
No, I don't think so. I believe they've got about just over 3,000 footage of fiber that we placed in the last few days, and we probably have done about that.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. Moving on, compliance. Jim?
To protect my voice a little bit, I'll just keep it short, if that's all right.
Do you want us to vote on that, or?
No, that's
Okay.
all right. We met on May 1st. Nothing out of the ordinary to say, to speak of. I mean, a normal month for guest speakers. If you're looking at, if you look at the, excuse me. Our trends did drop down just a little bit this last month, but it's nothing that we're too concerned about at this point. That has to go with driveway parking, overnight street parking. It's not much more to say. It was just a non-eventful month. That's
No,
probably something we need to say.
yeah, rest your voice. We'll reserve some time for you next month where you can go off for a while. Okay. Okay, it looks like we're moving on to governing documents.
The Governing Docs Committee didn't meet with the direction of the board in regards to a social media policy, and luckily I have some excellent committee members. Bob Lucas is the former board president, we actually did most of the report, and we pretty much followed his lead in
But it's not officially, I'm sorry, it's not officially a recommendation tonight.
No, we don't need any board action.
Okay.
Do we know what kind of information we would put out, like on a Twitter account or a Facebook account? I mean, what kind of information would we be sharing with the community? Just
That's up to the communication. Those would be all excellent platforms for any type of social event, for anything that's going on in a community, any sort of maintenance things that are happening. There's a myriad of things that can be posted on there that would just be excellent sources of information to the community. And I think that those can be broadly used for many types of things, as long as as long as there's a moderator that's approving what's going on.
Well, in here, you basically state that no board member should have a social media account or be Twittering or those kind of things about things unless it's been brought to the board ahead of time and we've approved those activities.
Can you tell me what you're referring to?
Can I make a suggestion? We haven't had a chance to read this yet. I don't think we've had a chance to read this yet. I don't know if we need to delve into this right now. I think we need to bring it back when we've had a chance.
This is meant to just as a recommendation from the committee. We can go over this as a board, and then if there's something in it that we don't like, if we want to send it back to the committee, or if we just want to.
Let's just say we'll have an opportunity to go through this at a future meeting.
Right.
I don't think we need to do that tonight.
Are you saying that this is going to go to the communications committee before we're going to get a chance to talk about it?
The only thing I'd like to go to the communications committee is to establish what RMA's official platforms are, and what's the solution to have somebody moderate those.
Can we also, because I think part of that, I think we'd also need to list the kind of communications we would be putting out on those platforms. I think that would be helpful as far as who's going to monitor them and who's going to put that information out, that type of thing. So maybe bring some ideas back on that also.
That'd be great. And I don't want to be indelegate, Joanne. Do you feel like your committee is this something you guys can run with?
Sure, we'll work on it.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Brown?
That concludes my report.
Okay. So I just wanted to add on to, because I did see what Bob Lucas did provide your committee. I did see that. And what I really liked is his idea of let's identify what we want to do, right? What do we want to do? What platforms do we want to be on? And then build a social media policy around that. So I think that was a good approach. But I want to make it clear to this board that I thank you for I'm going to read this, but we're not taking any action on this right now. So, okay. All right. Thank you. I think we're moving on to maintenance now.
Maintenance Committee met on May 7th, and we talked about Frisbee Golf Course discussion. We had that discussion, and we were thinking, the discussion initially was that we would have two 18-hole courses, one in the Greens Park and one on the land that we own near the intersection of Marietta Parkway and do you have the road up there? Yeah. Okay. However, that has not been totally decided upon, and if any board member has any suggestions there, Rod and I agreed that we're going to revisit that and bring it back before the board when we've got more of a final plan. Parking and whether it's going to be two 18-hole courses or whatever, whether it's two 9s or
Larry,
118.
I thought this community was discussing whether it could support two 18-hole courses. So.
Yeah, we're going to shorten it from a 520-yard hole, and we're going to not require any clubs.
Okay.
Anyway, there's a major discussion about Frisbee golf for our future. We also,
Larry, have we had a lot of requests for this?
yeah, Rod and I requested it. I'm kidding.
I mean, it sounds like fun. I just, having two, but you guys.
Well, you just have to duck once in a while. Yeah. Well, originally we were only talking about 118 hole at the Greens Park, and that's been discussed for some time, and that may be the best approach, is to start there and see what happens. We'll bring that back to you later when we have a better consensus. And then we approved the asphalt paving for this year, not to exceed the budget, the reserve funds, which was $414 or $400,000 and $1,400. Tell me, Greg, how much was that? Okay, thank you. I hadn't got to that page yet. And Rod was afraid initially the bid wouldn't come into that. So since we were on a time frame that we were trying to expedite that, we approved him going up to that reserve fund at least. But then the bid came in much less than what Rod had expected, and we were able to stay underneath that contingency. So, Rod, you want to ad lib on that, and do you want?
Yeah, so let me first start off with saying we had to change some things on our scope of work over the course of the last month, and therefore our bids getting back from the contractor were late. So we didn't actually have bids to go forward to maintenance committee nor finance committee. So next month, just as an FYI, I'll go back to those two committees and so that we can talk about process and reconcile the bid packets to make sure that all the items are dotted and T's are crossed. The bulk of the work, and I say almost all of the work, is going to take place on Florida Drive. 2 years ago, we did a small overlay on a portion of Florida Drive. We'll pick up where we left off from there and go from there all the way to Second Guadalupe. Some of the parks along that way need some overlays, and some others just need some patching and some seal coat. But all the parks in that whole stretch will be addressed as well. The price, we have actually $415,000 in our reserve to spend this year. Our bid come in, our low bid, which I'm happy to say is one of my favorable contractors, come in at $404,911. We know in that area we're going to probably have some areas that we're going to have to do more than the others that we would like to, so I'm asking for an additional $10,000 for contingency. It still holds us under $415,000.
So at this point, I'd like to make a motion to approve the pavement repairs for 2018 of $414,911.74.
Okay, a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the bid, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye. Sorry, I didn't get my mouth open fast,
So
That's unusual, I know.
That's extraordinary on many levels, Larry. I believe the vote was 7-0, but we might have to go to a replay review for that. Okay, does that conclude your report?
It does. No, Rod has something else.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I just wanted to let the community know, yesterday I got an email from SMUD. The last few years they've done some fairly large projects in the roadways, putting in some new conduit
Thank you. I think Director Brown's voice is tiring over there. He's talked so much. So, Parks.
The Parks Committee did not meet last week. I left off that our Parks Development maps were delivered down to the county the month before, and we did not have a meeting this past month.
Okay, thank you. And we're down to Recreation Committee. Stephanie.
Thank you. The Recreation Committee did meet. We met on May 2nd. We did not have a quorum at this meeting. However, we were productive and still had multiple conversations, most notably of which I wanted to just bring to the board's attention that we are discussing formalizing a review process for each of these new events that we're undertaking, where we will have some sort of formalized process where each event will be reviewed, the attendance, the success of the events, changes that potentially need to be made in the future if we want to see the event be continued, et cetera. So the committee will continue to work on that and develop some sort of formalized process, as well as we also discussed having some binder or some resource available so that it's easy to access for people who want to create these events in the future. To have a readily accessible information with liability information, vendor information, the evaluation process of each of the events. So we will be working on that. We reviewed the Giants game, trip to the Giants game, and that was successful. We do have coming up events that we'd like people to know that this week is the last week to sign up on. Sunday, May 20th, we will be having a bike safety rodeo here in the RMA parking lot. It's being offered by Officer Johnson with the Sacramento Police Department. Last day to sign up is this Friday, as well as the Co-ed Softball League. Last day to sign up is this Friday as well. I do want to recognize staff. Thank you for getting the banners up for us and advertise, as well as helping time and attention to coordinate these events. We do also have the Spray Park celebration coming up on June 2nd, and there's summertime bingo on May 25th. Other events will be on the RanchoMurieta.org. The other things that we did discuss is 2019 planning. We did have a short discussion about events we'd like to see coming up in 2019, but we are also looking at what the goals of our committee will be in the future for 2019. We'll continue to work on that.
If someone has a recommendation for consideration for the committee, do they put something in writing and send it to you? Or?
That would be great. I'm open to any suggestions. Thank you.
Have people asking that.
Thank you.
When you're putting together your packet, so people would know what their responsibilities were if they wanted to get something going, please include the gazebo, because it's got some rules there also that they need to follow through on.
Will do. Thank you.
And we're still having the hot dog party at Spray Park on June 2nd.
Yes, sir. Splash Park opening June 2nd. Thank you.
Sure.
Gary will be barbecuing if you want
Board members do have to pay for their dogs, though, so just so you know.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all I have.
You know what did catch my eye on page 4, that community garage sale, $4,000 is what it would cost for us to do that. We can't use that bulk rate mailing that we. Wow. Okay.
So the only reason we left that specific event per se open is we did not have a quorum to vote, and on our previous meeting it had voted that we wanted to move it forward. So I will just be bringing it to the committee again to vote if we do indeed, given that new bit of information, still want
Okay.
to move it forward
All
to
right.
the board to vote on.
So the committee now will be aware of that cost.
Correct. We
Okay.
discussed it at the last meeting, but we didn't have a quorum, so we weren't able to vote yay or nay to continue with the idea or not.
What's the difference, well, I mean, I know what it is, but how do we get around it? We allow residents to have estate sales. And a lot of those estate sales, they're not sales to me, but, you know, when I go driving by, so I just wondered, could we not have a community estate sale? So there's rules for estate sales, and you have to hear those rules. Okay. And there's requirements to have to, they can't have a moving sale or garage sale without an estate sale. They can't, okay. So there's just all kinds of cars around and people carrying things out, so I thought, well, I wasn't sure how it worked. That doesn't say,
Well, if I recall, one of the things that, the difference between a garage sale and a estate sale is that your garage can't be open and you can't have visual things outside. That's why estate sales work. Was that what I understood? You had mentioned once the possibility of having it off outside the gates. Is that something that you would consider to cut the cost?
I think the committee may potentially consider that. We did discuss that initially, and I believe that they wanted the community garage sale considered first, but now, given this new piece of information, they may want to pursue the alternative option, which we'll discuss next meeting.
Who sponsors Trash and Treasures? Because that's, anybody know about that? Because that's down in the plaza. I don't know if they still,
I don't think they're doing it
I
anymore.
don't know if they still have it.
They are doing it. Yeah, they're doing it in June.
Oh, the village is doing it. Okay. Bad timing on that one. Maybe we got a negotiating chip here.
No, they are having one in June.
No.
Yes.
Actually, the village is having one.
Yes.
It's $10 per spot.
And we had the garden club had an event. They're talking about maybe doing something next year in the parking lot of the plaza. I don't know if it'll go anywhere.
Okay.
They had mentioned it.
And I'm really eager to take my wife out for a free movie, so have you picked a movie for that night yet?
I was just sure you were going to say take her out to a garage sale.
Well, I got June 16th set aside, so I gotta know.
We have not settled on a movie.
All right.
I'll let you know.
Good. All right, good. And that concludes, okay. Awesome. Board member comments. So we're down to item 10. Anybody want to chime in on comments? Okay, Larry. Let's just go down this road. Let's just go all the way down. So go ahead.
You didn't think I was going to let that go by, did you?
No, I didn't think so.
Just a reminder that on June 23rd, we're having the next Free Rock concert at 5 o'clock at the gazebo. And on June 17th, we're starting our first series called Open Jam, which is just going to be people in the community that want to get up and play a guitar and sing a song, whatever they want to do. I've got a gentleman, I think, that's going to furnish us with a mic and an amplifier, and we'll set it up on the stage and see who shows up and see what happens. And I've actually got 3 of those scheduled this summer if it's successful. So that's the gazebo activities for me in the next month. I was being timed. Damn, I had another 2 minutes and 14 seconds.
Okay. When you pause for longer than 2 seconds, your time's up. Great. And I want to commend you for your free rock events. They're looking real good.
It was extremely successful, and
don't take my time.
I can thank Ralph and Linda for helping make that a success. They've been great at helping promote that on their website. Thank you.
And I want to commend the country club for working hard to move their program ahead. They've got a big party this Sunday. I know you guys aren't going to it, but I think I am. So I want to commend the country club for working on improving their facilities over there. And I also want to, I know we talked about it earlier, but I do want to, I guess, reiterate that it's not an easy decision, the way we're, trying to approach the village. It's hard, but I think we're making the right call. So, and I hope they're, if they want to talk, then let's talk. And I also want to thank staff for all the work. This month's packet has just been crazy big, and so thanks for all your work down there. I know you guys are all avoiding eye contact with me, but thanks, guys. Appreciate it. You want me to speak on your behalf? Okay. Stephanie? Nothing? Mr. Brown?
Yeah, just real quick, along those same lines, Alex, I thought your comments this evening at the beginning were excellent. I think they laid out exceptionally well the thoughts of the board, and staff has done a great job. This has been a long process, and it's been emotional for some people. And I hope the village, they come away with this understanding that, regardless of what they think of this board and what they put in their letters, that at no time during this whole process, on the prior board or this one, has anybody thought of the village as second-class citizens or referred to them as a trailer park. I think this board, the staff in this community, value the citizens and the village development as much as they value us. And as much as we value the citizens, the people on fixed income that live within the gates. And I think establishing this use fee is an important part in resolving the equity issue that we have in going forward. And I just commend the board for sticking by their guns. And again, I do hope that if nothing else, they come to us with maybe a different solution. But I just want to reiterate that the board did a good job tonight. And regardless of what they put in their letters, I have not seen any of that from this board, nor do we think that of the village.
Thank you for your comments. It looks like we have a correspondence. Greg, do I have to read that, or what do I have to do with that? That's item number 12, or 10, 11. You want me to read that? Are you serious? You're joking. I'm supposed to read it? All right. I closed my binder here. I got to look at this thing. All right. Give me a minute.
That reflects the activity of a new president. That's what that binder does.
All right. I'm not sure how to take that, but I'll okay. All right, let me move on with this. So this is from the Kiwanis Club of Rancho Murieta. Mr. Greg Vorster. Dear Greg, this is a belated expression of appreciation for your and your staff's support for our recent annual Kiwanis Kids Fishing Day event. As is their tradition, your staff went to extra effort to help make this another wonderful experience for community youth. The unsettled weather created an additional challenge that your crew quickly addressed. Please convey my gratitude to Rod, Susan, Dan, and all the other unnamed members of your staff who continue to define public service to our community. Additionally, they are all a pleasure to work with. Sincerely, Joseph P. Mazzoni, Senior Event Chair. So thank you, staff. I didn't realize that was such a nice letter. I would have read that first thing. Hey, look at this. I'm going to bang this thing here to say that our next meeting... Oh, okay. All right. Hey, folks, our next meeting is June 19th at 6:30, and, well, that's when we'll see you next time.